You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast.
It's the KKP on your mother flipping airways. Hear the name ringing through the halls and the stairways. You were listening to a pod that can segue all the latest topics, guaranteed to fill your headspace. It's a safe place to voice your opinion. Say what you feel, just like you're a kid again. Kid to pro and friends, black as obsidian. Chaotic culture, that's the world we living in. So what's the word?
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Power, chaos rules, and black culture is supreme. The Chaotic Culture Podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/chaotic culture pod. Please be sure that you subscribe to the Patreon today to get early episodes, bonus content, and of course to help keep the lights on. Once again, we appreciate your support. This podcast will deep dive into modern black culture and how millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha can navigate the crazy parts from finances, black business highlights, black professionals, community, content creators, home ownership, HBCU, sports, anime, wrestling, black nerddom, and especially black music. And if it encompasses black culture, we are going to cover it. Live from the 410, I am the host and the creator of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. This is your boy, Ked the Pro, a.k.a. the Calculator Millennial, a.k.a. the Encore presentation.
Can I get an encore? Do you want more?
A.k.a. your favorite toxic adjacent king, Ked the Poet, Ked the Closer, all that good stuff. 843 is me, Baltimore's the place to be. Always chaotic, never toxic most days. And back again, once again, with your favorite black culture highlights and black culture shenanigans. All right, so we just came off of the Dream Cap. We just came off of the BlerD9 review. I'm thinking about DreamCon. That's probably why it popped in my head. But anyway, we just had our BlerD9 recap about our panel and about our experience there. And so we are back once again with a weekly episodic episode here for you. And as you can see from my background, all of my artwork is gone. My keyblades are gone. If you're wondering, that is because I have to move, and that is a part of my mental health segment for today. So regardless of what happens next, whether I stay in the area or whether I go back to South Carolina or go back to Virginia, the biggest thing here is that I have to get out of this apartment. Now, you may be wondering, why am I thinking about going back to South Carolina? Well, that is because I am about to resign from my current job. I have more interviews lined up for some other positions, but I am officially resigning from my job. And if you're wondering why that is, it's just because lately I've been going through some things that I'd rather not discuss on the internet, but just know that I had to look out for my peace, for my mental health, and especially my physical health. One of the problems with that job is that I would be up 12 hours walking around a warehouse, and while the exercise is good, it does no good for my body if I'm doing that consistently, including but not limited to consistently picking up, anywhere between 1 to 50-pound packages. And so with that in mind, I had to think about that. I had to think about how I was going through the motions mentally, but also I had to consider my other options, and especially from a financial standpoint, I'm getting priced out of my apartment. And so I have to find something that's incredibly cheaper than what I'm staying in right now. And it sucks because I actually love this little apartment that I have. I've built a home here just about, but with cost rising, the cost of living rising, and unfortunately, with gas not being made cheaper due to a certain individual's decisions to go to war with a certain country, as well as other things, it just didn't make financial sense for me to stay in this apartment, and naturally for me to stay in the area. But if that changes, of course, that just depends on if I can find a job that pays more than what I was getting. But if not, then the answer is just to go home and start fresh. And you know what? I'm not mad at that. Yes, I have cousins who live here. I Not to say that I wouldn't lean on my cousins if I needed to, but I don't want to have to do that if I can. I'd rather be secure and stable. But if that means that I have to go back home, I will. But I do know that I have family that I can lean on, and that's also a good thing to know because I know that there's a lot of people out there who cannot lean on their family, whether it be for financial reasons or just even from a loving standpoint. I've got a incredible support system behind me, and I have family members who love me and are willing to look after me. But with that said, I at least got to get out of this apartment, regardless of if I find another position or not. What's done is done. This apartment I got to be out of by April 30th. That's the wrap. So that's why you see all the artwork is no longer around. All of my posters are down. I've started packing. I've really wanted to start packing up my winter clothes because technically, as of this recording, it is the first day of spring. But that means that I can't pack up all of my jackets either because it is still going to be a little cool, and the weather's not really going to warm up more than likely until around next month anyway. So there's that. So that's what's going on with me, guys. I am officially leaving my position, and I'm hoping to look for something better, or I'm looking for a reset, whatever happens first. Either way, I know that as long as I continue to put faith in myself and in faith in God, I will come through this. And hopefully the next chapter in my life is one full of abundance. I am getting ready to be 35, and so I have to think about the things in my life that matter the most, and that includes my physical health and my mental health. And that is one of the reasons why I am stepping down from this current position. So as of April 1st, I will no longer be working at that location and at that job. I will reveal where I've worked later, but I don't like talking about it. But still, yeah, it was time for me to move on, I think. And there were some other things that contributed to this, but ultimately I had to consider my finances, my mental health, and my physical health. So that is where I am right now. But with that said, I definitely wanted to come to y'all because we definitely got to get talking about the culture for real, and what's been happening in the culture as of late. I wanted to bring this up because man, this is kind of crazy. All right, so I know a lot of y'all have maybe you didn't listen to that Jack Harlow interview, or maybe you didn't, or maybe you saw a clip. And I know that there are some pieces that were taken out of context. But one of the funniest things that Jack Harlow said is that he got blacker. And I just have to look at him like, bro, what are you talking about? And far be it from me, because I don't want to call Jack Harlow a culture vulture because he does show appreciation for the culture. But I will say that he is still kind of a culture appropriator, if that makes sense. And I can't get it out of my head that he wanted to make, I guess, an R&B album, which is why he dropped the album Monica. Now, I haven't listened to the entire interview, and I'll probably go back and listen to it. I know, again, some things were taken out of context, but that is still a wild statement for you to say. You could have just stuck with, hey, look, I was truly inspired by Black music and Black artists. I really wanted to make something that showed that appreciation and just left it at that. You did not have to explain or go any further than that. But the fact that you said, oh, I got blacker, bro, what are we talking about? Come on, bro. I need you to have better understanding of what you're saying, because that statement right there is like cringeworthy, and that was one of the biggest yikes moments. But that's not the reason why I'm talking about it. I really wanted to talk about the memes and, of course, this album that he dropped called Monica. I'm guessing that Monica is sort of an idea. I don't know whether he named it after the artist Monica or was paying tribute to her, or if it was just the idea of this woman, or that he said that he always liked the name clearly. But the album itself is nothing but R&B based tracks, and I say R&B based because he can't sing. And I mean, you can clearly hear it in his voice. He's singing in a very, very low tone, so that way he doesn't get off note a lot. But you can tell when he's trying to really sing, it's just kind of like, Jack, I don't think this is the way to go. But that being said, I do love a lot of the instrumentals on this album. It is definitely very soul based, but his singing doesn't really add anything soulful to it, if that makes any sense. It feels like the lyrics are missing something. I don't want to call him hollow, but it's just like you got a specific dish, you got a recipe for the dish, but you're missing key ingredients. I'll leave it at that analogy. And so the album itself was okay. I would say it wasn't bad by any stretch, but it wasn't great either. And maybe I'm just being too generous because I just like really listened to it right before I got on the pod because I really wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. And I'm not I'm not inspired by it. You know, if I really wanted to go back to an inspiring album, I'll go back and listen to Duran Bernard, or I'll go and listen to Leon Thomas. This I don't know what this was. I think this was an attempt of an appreciation for soul music, but it's just an attempt. I cannot say that he executed or if he was trying to execute. I don't know what his motive was. I don't know if he was able to convey those messages within these songs. It just kind of felt like there's words, there's a little bit of singing, there's beats, and that's really it. It's like there's something specifically missing. Maybe he could have done collaborations with different R&B artists to help him get to where he was trying to go. I think that if he collaborated or maybe got assistance from someone like Erica Badu or maybe even Anthony Hamilton or maybe even some updated singers in our R&B today, maybe he could have gone to her. Maybe he could have gone to said Leon Thomas. Maybe he could have talked with Duran Bernard, or he could have found anybody, maybe even Coco Jones. Maybe he could have gotten some ideas on how to craft this R&B album, or with the album titled Monica, maybe you could have talked with Monica or Brandy about how to craft this album. And I didn't get that from when I listened to. It just felt like there was a sort of emptiness in there. But that being said, I'll give him, I guess, a 9 for the effort. If I do 9 out of 10, 9 for an effort, but a 2 for the landing. It just wasn't there for me. But I do want to share these memes because some of these memes are absolutely ridiculous, bro. When I say that folk did not spare him at all costs from the way that he dressed and for that I got blacker comments. I listen, Twitter, as much as I can't stand that app, those memes are the reasons why I don't delete this app. But anyway, let me go ahead and just share this real quick because man, when I say that this was funny, bruh, and hopefully you can see it from my screen. If not, I'll just read it out to you. We got this is crazy, and of course you see him dressed with the cap and the glasses like he music soul child. But the quote here says music stole child. Hilarious. We got neo-Nazi is crazy. And I'm probably gonna black that out because it's Neo, like the artist Neo, and then that other N word. I got January 6th in Park. I will say that they missed out with doing the 1/06 in Park. That would have been hilarious. It's really funny seeing that because Jack Harlow is definitely not MAGA, but it's still hilarious seeing that. We got IRS one. Oh my god, y'all running out now. IRS one is insane, bro. What are we doing? Disingenuine. I saw that one earlier. That one is hilarious too. Shout out to Kev on stage. De La Stole is hilarious. Ice Cube, as in immigration's custom enforcement. Oh my lord. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ice Cube. What are we doing, y'all? Wow. Hold on. That is insane, bro. Got me coughing. Okay. All right, I gotta move on. Most definitely not. Okay, that's hilarious too. All right. I saw that one earlier this week. Daniel Caesar, wow. No comment. Proud Boys to Men. Oh, y'all running out, bro. Y'all are running out. All right, we got Charlie Kirk Franklin, which I also saw earlier. All lives on me. Oh, Screw, man. Shout out to Screwface John, but what? Come on, man. Dog, bro. That is fucking hilarious. Okay. I saw this one earlier. Look at Jakob Quelly. Yeah. It's the same person. Good Kid, MAGA City. Again, Jack Harlow is not MAGA, bro, but it's still hilarious. Oh, y'all running now. Come on, man. Jew Hill? That is insane, bro. I gotta get off this app. Wow, I did not see that before. That is crazy. That is crazy. I had fully intended to show y'all a few of these memes, but that right there is insane. Music Rothschild. Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, this is the one that I really wanted to show. Honky. Y'all gotta chill, man. Y'all have got to chill, bruh. Man, this app knows no bounds, I swear. Massa P. Oh, that is insane. Y'all are frying me. Someone said dressed like LL Cool Whip. I'm done. Oh, old dirty alabaster. I gotta stop because if I keep going, y'all gonna make me. Oh, dirty alabaster. What are we doing? Oh my God. Some of these are absolutely insane, and some of these are unhinged. Like, what are we doing, bro? There was one that said tone deaf. Okay, that's cool. Someone said, "Oh no, I'm not gonna read that out loud." That is crazy. Someone put Teddy privileged ass. I get it. and Kev on stage once again said Leon Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, I gotta leave, bro, because this is too much, yo. This is way too much, bad, man. Listen, Jack Harlow, I know that he has an appreciation for this culture, bro, but you set yourself up for that one, brother. You set yourself up for that one. So, hey, man, more power to you. I hope that you got the results that you wanted from this album, but me personally, I didn't think that Monica was that special. But either way, it is what it is, and hopefully he'll take this all in good fun. Now, to a more somber note here, I do want to get into a few things that have happened into the news, and one of them was the Mystikal situation. Now, for those who know, of course, I'm a 90s baby, so you knew we grew up on Mystikal. Dude was a monster. Dude could rap, and he had such a unique style that nobody else had. If only he were a better person. You know, I know that a lot of rappers are not our heroes, and I have to keep that into consideration when talking about these rap artists, but it still hurts. It still hurts knowing that one of your favorite rappers is a shit person. And it's just kind of like, damn, yo, for real. It's kind of how I felt about when finding out Diddy was doing all this bullshit, though I've always had my reservations about Diddy. But Mystikal, bro, this is at least the second time that he's been in trouble with the law because of sexual assault or grape, because I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. But anyway, I'm just going to share this article and read along because it's really just depressing to hear, for real. As soon as here we go. So, rapper Mystikal pleads guilty to third-degree sexual assault or grape in Louisiana. The rapper Mystikal, who received multiple Grammy nominations in the early 2000s, pled guilty Tuesday to assaulting a woman at his Louisiana home nearly 4 years ago, according to court records. The 55-year-old performer, whose given name is Michael Lawrence Tyler, pleaded guilty to third-degree assault or grape in an Ascension Parish courtroom, records show. Tyler's attorney didn't immediately respond Wednesday to a request for a comment. Tyler faces up to 25 years in prison without benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. He is scheduled to be sentenced on June 15th. The rapper has been held without bond at the Ascension Parish jail since 2022, when he was arrested for allegedly assaulting and choking a woman in his home in Prairieville, about 18 miles from Baton Rouge. The New Orleans native rose to national recognition in the 1990s and is known for his 2000 hit Shake Your Ass, which is nominated for a Grammy in the Best Rap Solo Performance category. In 2003, goodness, pleaded is crazy. He pleaded guilty to sexual battery and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. That same year, he was a Grammy nominee in two categories: Best Rap Album for Tarantula and Best Male Rap Solo Performance for his single Bouncing Back / Bumping Me Against the Wall. With People magazine, they they get a little bit deeper into what ended up happening, and it's still just very disturbing because dang, bro, if it you were really on top of the world, but for whatever reason, bro, I don't get the idea of not falling for consent. Like, bro, if they don't consent, then just leave it be. You mystical, bro. That's what it really doesn't. It just really boggles my mind that there are people out there who literally could, if they wanted to, have any girl that they wanted without having to assault them. Like, there are plenty of women out there who be like, "Oh, you mystical? Oh yeah." Like, granted, I know he's in his 50s now, but there are plenty of women out there who are still like, "Yeah, let's go, let's do this." Why would you feel that you? It just doesn't make any sense to me, y'all. And that's why that I say that people who sexually assault other people are the worst kind of human being, outside of murderers, of course. But they are still on the tier list of worst kind of human beings ever. And it really boggles the mind, and it also just really upsets me because there's no need for that, bro. Like, if someone says no to you, then move on. It's Yeah, you could be upset about it, but just like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. And somebody else will be willing to do these favors for you. But let's read the People magazine article. Nearly 4 years after he was arrested on allegations of sexually assaulting a woman in his Louisiana home, rapper Mystikal has pleaded guilty to a third-degree sexual assault charge. Well, it's a grape charge, and now faces up to 20 years in prison. The Shake Your Ass rapper, 55, appeared in court in Louisiana on Tuesday, March 17th, and entered a guilty plea to the charge, which was downgraded from first degree, according to court records viewed by People. Prosecutors decided not to pursue 9 of the charges, including simple criminal damage, false imprisonment, battery, domestic strangulation, and simple robbery, by filing legal notices known as the prosequi. Mystikal, whose real name again is Michael Lawrence Tyler, will be sentenced on June 15th, according to the court records, and reportedly faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. Tyler's attorney did not immediately respond to People's request for comment. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office announced Tyler's arrest in August 2022, saying authorities had responded to an area hospital in reference to a sexual assault. While at the hospital, detectives interviewed the victim, who sustained minor injuries during the attack, the sheriff's office said in a press release. Tyler, who is a lifetime registered sex offender due to a 2003 sexual assault conviction, was arrested at the time and charged. It's chronic at this point. The incident with the victim allegedly began with a financial dispute at his Prairie View home, the Advocate reported. Sheriff's Detective Garrett Keith reportedly told prosecutors that an examination found wounds consistent with sexual assault. Tyler had a Billboard #1 album in 2000 with Let's Get Ready. He released his last album in 2001, several years before his career was derailed by legal troubles. Following his 2003 sexual battery conviction, he was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison and was released January 2010. Tyler was also indicted on separate rape and kidnapping charges in 2017 and spent 18 months in jail before he was released on a $3 million bond, according to the Associated Press. The charges against him were eventually dropped. Quote, unquote, I learned from the first situation, he told the AP, of his 2003 conviction and having to register as a sex offender. That crap is on my license. I'm in a horrible fraternity. Well, clearly you didn't learn your lesson. Man, when I tell you that it is like, ugh, that is hard to hear. And I personally I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. all I got to say, man, is that again, we've talked about rappers not being role models. Rappers really should never really be your heroes unless they're really trying to do good in the world, because a lot of rappers deep down are terrible people. And unfortunately, Mystical happens to be one of those terrible people. Sad to hear and sad to see that, because again, Mystical is one of my favorite artists. I remember my brother had his a couple of his CDs, if I'm not mistaken, for real, for real. If we going back to his discography, when Mystical was signed to No Limit, like, come on, bro. You it just doesn't make any sense, man, that he would go this far, for real, for real. Like, this man had a matter of fact, it was he had Unpredictable. I'm trying to see if he owned Ghetto. He had Unpredictable and Ghetto Fabulous. So the fact that he had those albums and I listened to them, like, it just sucks, man. It really sucks that he is that kind of person. I really I really wish that he was a better person, but rappers are rappers, I guess. Let me not say that, because not all rappers are like that. It's really just hard to see that. So anyway, guys, that is my opinion on Mystical, and I really just hope that if you do have a rapper who is your role model, please make sure that they are at least doing some good in the world and that they're not terrible people out here doing heinous actions and crimes like Mystical. That is just something that I just cannot get over, because again, I grew up listening to this dude. But some people just never learn. And unfortunately, Mystical has not learned his lesson. So now I'm pretty sure that he will get the full 25 years, which at this point, dude ain't coming out of prison until he's 80. If he lives that long, it might as well be a life sentence. It just sucks. It really just sucks that one of the people that you admired and one of the people that you listen to consistently, and some of the people who know that you have a unique style of rapping, that you just end up being a terrible person. And I know it goes a little deeper than that, because there has to have been something in his life that happened that way. But I think we should have known with the lyrics on Shake Your Ass. I came here with in my hand. Don't make me leave here with my foot up your ass. Be cool. Like, that should have been a indicator, like, bro is a menace. So anyway, with that out the way, let's continue on with the episode. I just wanted to let y'all know, as far as new watches, of course, I am watching Invincible. Invincible has been going crazy. They just dropped 3 episodes for season 4. So I am hyped that Invincible has returned. I finished the One Piece live action and damn near finished it in one day. Y'all can tell that I am really missing out on my One Piece media, man. I literally have started reading the manga just because I'm like, dang, I'm really tapped into One Piece now. I caught up on the anime, and now I'm just like, oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I really want to continue on. So I really don't want to wait for Elbaf to get here as far as the anime, but I still may do that. But I'm going to still read just so that I can be ahead of the game. But yes, man, One Piece, I never thought that I would go and watch it all, but here I am. I'm caught up. Well, not caught up, but I've caught up to the anime. And I just need more One Piece media in my life, which is why I was able to finish that live action as quickly as I did. Now, the live action, of course, there are some things that are missing from the manga and from the anime, but of course, they are trying to condense it for live action. So naturally, it's not going to be as long and drawn out as the anime and not include every single minute detail that's in the manga, but they get the basic story across, and Oda did change up a few things as well. For example, for those who know about Bartolomeo, we actually get to see him early, and we get to see his story and how he was inspired by Luffy at Loguetown, as opposed to seeing him in Dressrosa and then having to deal with that flashback. So that was good there. We actually got to see Miss Thursday, who I don't think is in the manga, but we got to see an iteration of Miss Thursday when she battles Smoker. So shout out to addition of characters that Oda just had, tucked in his back pocket. There are a few things as well that I thought were a little different. I do like how they explained Walpo's Munch Munch powers and the way his mouth transformed as if it was actual machinery. That was dope. We talked about this on Inside the Mind of a Blerd. I loved 3D Chopper, but then of course when he hit his strong point or his human form, it was just a guy in a costume, and this is like, come on, y'all, really? Y'all could have just CGI'd the entire thing, and we would have been okay. But whatever, it is what it is. And I think honestly, that is all that I have for real, as far as watches. Let me see if there's anything else. I've started watching season 2 of Paradise, so y'all already know I'm about to be tapped in. I'm gonna finish this before they end their season as well. They have dropped 6 episodes, and I believe they got 2 left for this season, so I will be tapping into Paradise. There's a lot of stuff coming out, like Daredevil Born Again season 2 is coming out. I cannot wait for that. We just saw this trailer of Spider Brand New Day. If you want to hear my opinions about that, check out the latest Inside the Mind of a Blerd episode. But the Spider-Man trailer got me really hyped. Like, I'm ready for this. And as far as new listens, obviously, I just listened to the Jack Harlow album. There's that. I don't know if I talked about it, but I did listen to Baby Keem's new album, Casino, which was really, really good. There are some other albums that I have yet to listen to right now, but are on my queue. So I definitely have to go ahead and tap in for that. But it's a great year for hip hop. That's all I got to say, minus that Jack Harlow album. But there is someone told me that I should definitely check out the It's Us Volume 2, which of course is Lil Boat in his gang. So I'll check it out. I don't have any high expectations for it, but there's music for everybody out there. I'm gonna just leave it at that. And I'm willing to listen at least once. So that is the new watches and the new listens that I have on my plate. Now, let's get into some wrestling news, because we haven't talked about wrestling for a while on this pod. And the one thing that I want to bring up is because it's unfortunately a black wrestler who was steeped in some controversy. This is the former WWE superstar and current AEW superstar Ricochet, real name Trevor Mann. Now, recently, Trevor Mann, y'all know he's a heel in AEW right now. So, of course, he will do and say heelish things to get heat. And there was a fan in the internet wrestling community, which we know the IWC is toxic as fuck anyway, but there was a fan who said that they enjoyed Ricochet's ability in the ring, but still is not a fan of his acting. Now, I know that Ricochet has instances where he does respond to certain people in the IWC, and he will respond in heelish ways. But unfortunately, this person happened to have multiple sclerosis, and Ricochet said, and I quote, "I'm glad you got MS." And all I could do was just facepalm, because I saw the tweet in real time, and it was just like, bro, what are we doing? Come on, man. It's like black people are get enough scrutiny as is across the board as is. Why would you go and say something like that? Excuse me. Let me get a drink of water real quick. But yeah, why would you say something like that, dude? What would compel you to say something so incredibly low? Like, I'm glad you got MS. Like, bro, what? It's bad enough. Yes, we know how toxic the IWC gets, but there are some things that you just shouldn't say. And then there's some things that you just shouldn't do. And those comments, unfortunately, got him in hot water. And on top of that, there are some crazies out there who are sending death threats to his wife, Samantha Irvin, or Samantha the Bomb, to the point where she had to delete her Twitter. And then people still followed her on Instagram and were still sending those same death threats. Listen, that is crazy. And I'm not going to say that Ricochet set her up for that, because Ricochet has to have accountability for his own actions, and clearly he did because he apologized later. It's crazy though that she gets the backlash from that. Why would anybody try to? And people are crazy, but why would you send death threats to her? Why would you send death threats in general? That shit is loser behavior, and it just shows that people out here are insane and have no amount of moral standing when it comes to their favorites, and not even their favorites. They just don't have any kind of moral standing in terms of people in general. And the fact that you will go and make death threats to Samantha because of this statement is wrong. It is sick and it's incredibly disgusting. That being said, I'm not excusing Ricochet for his behavior because that tweet was definitely uncalled for. And thankfully, again, he apologized. And the company, apparently AEW, didn't force him to apologize. He apologized on his own volition and got some advice, I guess, from a friend about it. But still, something like that, you just have to, when it comes to social media, let me just be clear. When it comes to social media, you have to keep your temperament low because things on the internet are meant to trigger you into rage, into anger, into anxiety, and you have to be able to be like, nah, I'm good for your own mental health. If you feel as though that the internet is just bogging you down and that you're getting attacks left and right just because of who you are or just because of a character that you portray, you've got to learn to be like, hey, I need to take a break from social media. I understand that the IWC is probably one of the most inconsistent and toxic fan bases out there because you got so many people on the IWC who don't know what they want, who will criticize whoever, even though they couldn't do half the shit that Ricochet can do in the ring. And on top of that, they're just bitter for no fucking reason. Excuse my language. But that being said, what Ricochet did was completely uncalled for. And I hope that he learned his lesson. I don't know what repercussions he will face with AEW, but I do hope that a conversation can be had. Now, that being said, again, his wife should not have been attacked. These death threats and these threats coming for him and for her, they need to stop, y'all. That is really, really absolutely disgusting. You can unfollow them if you are annoyed by them. You can just block them. You can literally go and pay attention and go outside and touch grass. To send death threats is crazy. We got some insane people living out here, man. I'm just going to say Samantha did not deserve that. And Ricochet doesn't deserve death threats. Does he deserve being held accountable? Yes. If y'all want to cuss him out or if y'all want to, tell him he's a terrible person, then by all means do that. But death threats, let's be real, man. Be fucking for real and be fucking adults. That's all I got to say about that controversy. Now, I want to redirect and go back to talk about something that I think you all should watch. Because I should have said that in my watches, but I definitely think y'all should all watch. Y'all need to check out the On the Radar freestyle. Excuse me, the On the Radar cipher. Because that cipher, absolutely amazing. So there were 10 artists that were included on the Radar cipher. If you have not checked it out, it is on the Radar page on YouTube. And it was absolutely insane how many what they call new class rappers were on there. Because some of them aren't really like new class, but there was a great amount of incredible artists that were included on this cipher, and that included Marco Plus. He killed it. My guy Ruben Vincent came through. He shout out to North Carolina, man. That's all I gotta say. North Carolina, even though I'm from South Carolina, like I gotta give a big shout out to Ruben Vincent for that. He came. Big shout out to Overcast, who created the beat. I thought Overcast should have had a longer cipher, but he still brought awareness and attention to his verse. So definitely big shout out to him. Marlon Craft, who's been in the trenches for so damn long, bro. That boy he from the trenches, and that man is literally from the cloth. Like, we can talk about Jack Harlow all day, but when it comes to somebody who is truly for the culture and is willing to uplift the culture, Marlon Craft is one of them ones. please be sure that you check out his verse because he had one of the dopest verses on that cipher. Man, shout out to Ben Riley. Ben Riley was so animated, and Screwface John actually made that comment. Like, he is animated when he raps, and he's also some shit. Like, he's saying some shit, bro. Like, I loved what I heard from him. Shout out to Suave, who actually had a whole verse. His whole verse was about God, and that was really, really dope. And then he, of course, was funny and ended with Red Rose, White Ceiling. Okay, now to verse number 7, Nassan. Now, Nassan is Proof's son, for those who don't know, Proof of D12. And Nassan had a dope verse too, and even used the Royce the 5'9" rhyme scheme. Instead of saying hi Rihanna, he said hi Revolt, and he took shots at Revolt. The one shot that I didn't like was the shot at Rob Markman, because he felt that Rob Markman apparently wasn't talking about anybody new in a lot of his reviews, and Rob Markman always puts on new rappers. I think that he might have accidentally missed Nassan, but I would charge that to Rob Markman's head and not his heart. He knows about Nassan. He knows how dope he is, but he still took a shot at him, and Rob Markman had to respond like, bro, what are we doing? Now, mind you, this cipher dropped all the way back in February, but I still want my audience to pay attention to this cipher, because like this new class cipher was absolutely dope, and it put anything that Double XL has done in the past to bed, at least for the last 3 or 4 years. I don't know what's going on with Double XL. They are really trying to like capture. I think they're trying to capture moments instead of trying to capture like what MCs can really do. And I think that's the problem. And on top of that, they're also featuring artists who are more geared towards mainstream than actual lyricists now, which is also a little troubling. But either way, On the Radar might have something here. I didn't even finish because they still had Larizi on there, and Larizi, you could hear the Wayne influence in the way that he rapped, and it was dope as hell. Ray Vaughn came with an absolute fire. I think Ray Vaughn probably had the best verse in this entire cipher. It was Ray Vaughn, it was Marlon Craft, and then it was Chris Patrick at the very end, who also had a dope on-off. He had like a on-scheme, off-scheme kind of rap. It was like A, B, C, B, if that makes any sense. Like his rhyme scheme was really, really crazy. So big shout out to Chris Patrick. Big shout out to all of the dope NCs on that On the Radar freestyle. If y'all have not seen it yet, what are y'all doing? Go and check it out. Like that is an entire class of great MCs that have either just come up or just starting to be recognized because they've been grinding for so long, man. Especially Marlon Craft. He's been grinding for years, and I'm glad he's finally getting his shine for real, for real. And Ray Vaughn, I can't say enough about Ray Vaughn, man. That dude is dope. TDE got a fire one on their hands. Speaking of TDE, apparently they just signed Trap Dicky from South Carolina. And y'all already know, like, granted, I'll be the first to say, like, I remember Trap Dicky had like one song I was familiar with, but now I'm about to go check out more of his work. So big shout out to South Carolina, man. We in the building. I'm glad that a South Carolina artist is signed to TDE. That speaks volumes, man. And that just shows that Top Dog is not just looking for West Coast rappers. They're looking for rappers across the board. And I can say that because, I mean, Dochi's from Florida. Trap Dicky, obviously, from South Carolina. And if I'm not mistaken, Isaiah Rashad, he is from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So yeah, man, we got some. They are signing some heavy hitters. So I will definitely be paying attention to Trap Dicky and what he's got in store. Now, before we get up out of here, there's two things that I got to talk about. One, I got to talk about this crazy ass clip from fucking Chrisean. And I don't really hate to go back into the Chrisean and Blueface saga, but I got to talk about this real quick, y'all. This is absolutely insane. All right. And as I was saying, y'all know that I really want to avoid the Blueface and Chrisean saga, but I definitely have to share this because this is just an absolute insane way of thinking. And it makes me really, really like worried for my people here. So this is Chrisean talking about
Blueface doesn't seem active in the child's life because of his disability. My son does not have a disability. He is developing at his own pace and hitting his milestones in his own timing. Every child is different, and I'm confident in his growth. If I said it, he had a disability, then he... But it's like,
don't tell me.
I ain't saying, not even just that. It's like saying if someone, a doctor, anybody speak against your kid or yourself, then you should not accept it, bro. Yeah. Anybody, what? If they're guessing or whatever, no, the word said what the word said. God said what the God says. I don't have to accept what you. So it's really like me, like protecting a revelation that I heard from the Lord over my son. Yeah. Like, I can't wait when my son start walking and talking. I'm gonna just be like, exactly. Like I said, I told y'all. He told y'all. Shoot, I was just relaying the message. It's like one of those. Blueface doesn't seem active in the child's life.
Where do I start with this? Where do I even begin? All right, well, I'm gonna keep it brief because for the sake of brevity, I just want to get my point across. That kind of thinking is why I think she's a terrible person and a terrible mother. Now, again, I'm not a parent, but that kind of thinking is what I call religious psychosis. And this is coming from someone who still professes the name of Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. That right there, that is that kind of doctrine, that indoctrination, that kind of thinking that I heard and proclaimed, a message from the Lord myself. Far be it from me to judge you for you and your relationship with God. But what do you mean that if a doctor say that doesn't mean I have to believe it? Bro, did God not put doctors here for us so that way we can understand what's going on with our children? Mind you, her son is 3 years old. Is not talking, is not walking. And the crazy thing about it is that from what people are saying in her church, mind you, these are people from her church in whatever blog post that we've found them in. They are saying that her child will make monkey noises or random noises, but has yet to fully develop their speech or walking habits. At 3 years old, that indicates that there is a disability. I'm not here to diagnose that child, but just from certain signs and from certain symptoms, you can tell this child is not properly developing. And this child needs help, and she will not provide the help for this child. Mind you, Blueface is a terrible person in and of itself for not being involved in the child. But that being said, I think that what Chrisean is going through is a form of religious psychosis to where she will run to religion in order to avoid accountability. And that is not how God works, and that is not how the Christian faith works. Because we all know that during this pregnancy, Chrisean was smoking and drinking. And so her running to the Bible and her running to this particular church, it shows that that there is no accountability. And admitting that your child has a disability would be admitting that she was wrong, and she doesn't want to do that. She's not willing to face the consequences for her actions while she was pregnant. She doesn't want to admit that her child has a disability, that her child may need special care, because that would prove and that would show that she made a mistake, and she doesn't want to go through that. She is unwilling to take accountability as a parent. And the way that apparently that she has her child and the way that she's been treating the child, apparently her church members agree that somebody needs to be called and some help needs to be given to that child, because what she got going on is crazy. Like, I've just never seen somebody so irresponsible. Or maybe I have, and I can't think of it at the top of my head. But as far as celebrities and whatnot, again, I know that some celebrities are not good people, but just seeing that is truly and utterly disgusting. And again, as someone who professes the Christian faith, that's not how Christianity works. That's not how any of this works. Like, you allow yourself to get away with how you raise your child and not being held accountable for not getting the child help because you just believe that miraculously, like, God is just going to come down, touch him, and then he'll start walking and talking like a normal person, or he'll start because he's developing late. Ma'am, if they're developing late, that is a normal indicator of a disability. But just because your child has a disability does not mean that they're not touched by God. I really want people to understand that just because a person has a birth defect or a person has a disability, that does not mean that there's anything wrong with them, because God is going to love them regardless. It just means that their learning capabilities or their learning functions may not be up to speed for a normal person, but that does not mean that they're not blessed. But what you are doing right now, Chrisean, is absolute child neglect because you refuse to get that child help that he needs. And that's really all I'm going to say about that. I really cannot stand when people who profess the Christian faith refuse to take accountability for their actions and just run to God as if there is, he's just going to forgive all. Yes, we know that we have a loving and forgiving God, and he will forgive you for your sins. That does not mean that you can escape accountability for your actions. And I really want people to get that in their head. And I really want her to get that in her head. But I know as long as she's cozied up under whatever pastor she's under, he ain't going to tell her that she needs to be held accountable. He will not make her face her truth that what she did while she was pregnant was absolutely her fault and the reason why the son came out the way that he did. The son cannot walk. The son cannot speak. And it's just like at 3 going on 4 years old, you have to be able to get that child help before it becomes too late. So I really hope that somebody tells her and somebody has an actual come to Jesus moment with her, like, you got to do this. But I know her stubborn ass ain't going to do it. And it's just sad that we have to deal with that in our culture. And I really, really just hate the fact that everything that I've learned about Blueface and Chrisean has been against my will. Needless to say, the last thing I want to talk about real quick before we wrap up is I just want to give a huge shout out to Afroman. I know that he probably ain't going to hear this pod, but I definitely want to give him a big shout out for winning his trial. For those who don't know, of course, he prevails in his this last lawsuit against, well, it wasn't against, there were some cops that sued him and tried to sue him for defamation, and Afroman ended up winning the trial. So I'm just going to read it real quick. Afroman was just trying to turn lemons into lemon pound cake when he started making music videos and social media posts mocking law enforcement officers who conducted a heavy-handed raid on his Ohio home. Home surveillance video of August 2022 raid shows half a dozen gun-wielding law enforcement officers from the Adams County Sheriff's Office deputies kicking down his door, combing through his CD collection, going through his suit pockets, flipping through a wad of cash, and in one case, briefly getting distracted by a cake dish on the kitchen counter. The search on suspicion of drug trafficking and kidnapping didn't yield any evidence or charges against the rapper, whose real name is Joseph Foreman. But he says officers broke his gate and security surveillance wiring took $400 in cash and frightened his family. He wasn't at home at the time, but his wife and kids, then 10 and 12, were present. I asked myself, as a powerless black man in America, what can I do to the cops that kicked my door in, tried to kill me in front of my kids, stole my money, and disconnected my cameras? Afroman told NPR in 2023. And the only thing I could come up with was make a funny rap song about them, use the money to pay for damages they did, and move on. The rapper, best known for early August hits like Because I Got High, Crazy Rap, Code 45 and 2 Zigzags, made waves again with the 2023 release of Lemon Pound Cake. Its 14 songs have titles like The Police Raid, Why You Disconnected My Video Camera, Will You Help Me Repair My Door, featuring home surveillance footage in his music videos. He also posted memes and sold merchandise satirizing the incident, and people involved. Common themes range from poking fun at the deputies' appearances, comparing them to Family Guy's Peter Griffin and Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, to more serious allegations of extramarital affairs and pedophilia amongst department members. Afroman called his approach the smartest, most peaceful solution, but the sheriff deputies disagreed. So 7 law enforcement officers, of course, ended up suing him in 2023 for defamation and invasion of privacy, saying that his unauthorized use of their likeness hurt their reputations and made it harder for them to do their jobs. Of course, he continued to release personal songs about them, and because they vandalized his property. And pretty much the trial took 3 days. It ended up, being a victory for Afroman because it was based off of freedom of speech. And as his lawyers had used, a lot of things that rappers say in these videos are often exaggerated and not necessarily true. And you can't really use rap lyrics to determine whether or not they told the truth or not, or slandered or defamed your name. So also, I'm trying to figure out, there was something else that his lawyer said, but yeah, let's see. I really wanted to, there was one quote in this article that actually really stood out to me, but I really can't find it right now. But either way, Afro got his justice, and those deputies, they tried to sue him because he cooked them on the internet, and ultimately he won. Why? Because again, it wasn't slander, it was freedom of speech. And so next time, maybe think about who you're rating and whatnot, and just try to, I guess, be more considerate. But we know the police ain't gonna do that. That being said, Afroman said there ain't nothing I can do but make a funny ass song about it. So he made funny ass songs, and they took offense to it. You don't get to be aggressor and victim. You got to play one part. And so naturally, the cops tried to play both sides, and yeah, they got cooked in court for it too. So there's that. But big shout out to Afroman for winning his trial. We all know what it is, man. And I'm just happy that he got the justice that he was seeking for him and his family. So with that, guys, that is going to be my time. I did want to keep this short, sweet, and straight to the point because it is just me. I don't have any of my co-hosts here, but big shout out to them. Love y'all for the work that y'all do. Continue to do great things. And I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. I do want to give a shout out to everybody out there who is doing their own thing, who is creating their own thing, whether it be podcasts, whether you're creating content, whether you are out here living your best life in the corporate world, whether you're making your own businesses, or whatever it is that you are doing. If you are Black and thriving, we want to shout you out. And even if you're not thriving, but you're finding ways to be successful in your own way, we want to shout you out as well. So big shout out to all of you who are out here doing the damn thing. And with that, I will save the rundown for another podcast because again, I'm tired and I'm hungry. And of course, I still have some packing to do. But for everybody who has sponsored this podcast or who really supports this podcast, once again, I appreciate all of your hard work. I appreciate all of the things that you've done for us. And I cannot appreciate the support enough, man. If it really and truly, I will appreciate you all forever for even just supporting this platform. So with that, guys, be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Khaotic Culture podcast on your favorite DSP. Please be sure that you subscribe to the Patreon for early episodes and, of course, bonus content. We have been taking a pause on Patreon, obviously, for a little bit as far as bonus content, but we will get back to the habit of posting the episodes early and trying to get you some new bonus content as well. I will probably be going live for WrestleMania. I know I'm definitely going live for NXT Stand and Deliver, so please be sure that you tune into that. If you miss, of course, the live stream, you will always be able to watch it on Patreon as well. They're doing it through YouTube, so hopefully that means that there will be no copyright strikes and we'll get a chance to react in real time. But anyway, that is it for me. Once again, please be sure that you follow us on the Facebook page at Khaotic Culture Podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram, on Threads, and on TikTok at Khaotic Culture Pod. You can follow me, Ket the Pro, that's K3D the Pro, on all social media. Of course, you can follow all of my co-hosts at their respective @. You can follow Scuba Steve at Scuba Steve 1428 on all social media. You can follow Sappy at Scratch14 on all social media. You can follow Law at L.JR_96 on Instagram and Law96_ on X. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, please be sure that you like the video, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, tell your friends about the Khaotic Culture Podcast. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your greasy granny, and tell your mom, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell whoever. Let them know that Black culture is alive and thriving here on the Khaotic Culture Podcast. And with that, this has been another edition of the Khaotic Culture Podcast. So until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture, chaos rules, be blessed, be safe, God is love, and we are out of here. Deuces. And of course, there we go. Gunshots, gunshots. Woo!
So what's the word?
You are now tuned in to the Khaotic Culture Podcast. And